Welcome back to TMRE. We're joined here by Jason Smith, Managing Director of Shopper Intelligence USA. Hi, Jason.
Hi.
How are you doing? I'm good.
That's good.
Can we start by just telling us a little bit about Shopper Intelligence and some of the things that you're up to?
Yeah, at Shopper Intelligence, we do basically a syndicated shopper survey in the US where we cover about 300,000 US shoppers across 125 categories and around 30 plus retailers. And what we do is we basically run a syndicated shopper survey using a fairly standardized approach. This enables us to basically compare and contrast retailers and categories and departments to one another. So typically if you were doing custom research, many times you get very deep and granular into one category at one retailer. The fact that we have come across all these different retailers, all these different categories, we have the ability of understanding and having context of what does good look like and how does it compare in the rest of the store and the rest of the aisle. Because we have a good story from, we worked with an Australian soup company where they found out 15% of the purchasers of soup, it was unplanned. And so they went back to a retailer and they were like, this is amazing. We have 15% opportunity. It's unplanned, there's impulse. And they took it to a retailer and the retailer laughed because they realized that compared to the rest of the store, that's very little. So understanding that context is very valuable, and that's kind of how we partner with retailers and manufacturers in the US.
Great, and what are some of the sort of the key issues that your clients are experiencing at the moment you're helping with?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. One is how does e-commerce and brick and mortar kind of fit into the same bucket? I mean, historically, we typically spend all of our time and energy understanding brick and mortar, but there's also a different dynamic with e-commerce shoppers. We actually, we survey Walmart.com, Amazon to understand, what does that category look like in e-commerce, and then how is the shopper, what is their overall attitude and feelings when they're shopping in a brick and mortar and comparing and contrasting it. So it's very valuable because there is a very different way of shopping, and historically companies have just kind of repurposed their brick and mortar strategy on an e-commerce platform. Yeah. So this is speaking to the language of the shopper and to the retailer.
And from the conference, what are some of the key themes that you're hearing and that are standing out today that we've heard? Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting for me because I come from historically a CPG background. So hearing about the different generations. I was at a presentation a little bit ago about the generation Z and X and Y and all these different ways of how they approach this, and obviously how they shop and how they engage with technology is very valuable. I mean, one of the things we survey is what's their mobile use when they're in a store? How do they understand recommendations, and how do they use all the different portals out there to really drive their consumption and to drive recipes or to drive occasions? So we ask a lot of these questions, but obviously it depends on the age of the person and how well connected they are when they're in the store. And we do a full demographic profile, so you can kind of see the 18 to 35 crowd is obviously a lot different than the baby boomers and how they engage with technology in the store and pre-store, which is stuff that we do look into.
And if we look ahead, the industry overall, what do you think some of the biggest challenges facing the industry?
Well, I think for our space, it is that omni-channel component. That's probably the biggest issue of the unknown. It's evolving so quickly. Certainly brick and mortar, I still feel very confident that in 10 or 15 years, it'll still be the lion's share of the business. So you really got to get your core right, because if you ignore that, then obviously you could run into a lot of issues. But understanding how you can evolve your strategy and work with the different retail channels that come up. I mean, we do a lot of stuff with dog food, cat food, things like that. So, you have Chewy.com popping up, and you've got Jet.com being purchased by Walmart. I mean, a lot of the retailers are just buying up these other pieces, and they really have to figure out how to manage that, and how does it fit into their overall strategy, which is very important.
Yeah. And finally, if you were giving advice to our peers, one piece of advice that you think would stand out given the pace of change that's going on in the market at the moment, what advice would you give people? Yeah,
it's really kind of stepping out of your comfort zone. I think that's something in the US where shopper intelligence is a little bit newer here than it is in the rest of the world. I mean, most things do start in the US or the UK and kind of move to the rest of the world, where our company was founded in Australia, and the US is really the last of the 10 markets. We've been here for 3 years, but really seeing the type of things that we're doing, it's kind of a new concept, a new methodology to go with a large-scale syndicated shopper survey. So I always challenge our clients and prospective clients to kind of really kick the tires on a lot of different things, because there's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of new ways to do it. The old ways, they've been done for a long time, and And so if, and a lot of their competition is doing the same thing, so if everyone's doing the same thing, it's usually good to kind of differentiate yourself. And since I work with a lot of people in shopper insights and category management, coming to retailers with new ideas and having some fact-based data to support it is really valuable, because you can always just do a gut check and just kind of say, oh, you should try this, but unless you have some fact-based data to support it, like a Walgreens per se, they make a $1,000 mistake at a store times by 8,000 stores, it's a big issue. So if you can kind of come to the table with the right concept early on, it can certainly limit the risk that they have long term.
Very good. Yeah. Good. Really, really glad you joined us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.